All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, where I do see that chat is working. People are piling in, so it should be fine. TGIF, of course, I don't stream on the weekends. There's quite a bit of news to talk about today. Some of it's really big news, actually. Also, there's that invasion at Quantico. Some Jordanian nationals tried to storm a Marine base. They didn't do very well at that one. That was reported on this morning, but that's not a news story for today. I just thought I'd mention it in passing. Probably cover it tomorrow, depending on when they get the identities of these people and why they insanely attempted to enter a Marine facility. It's probably not a good idea if you look at Marine basic training. And probably get cannibalized. Joe Biden claims he has executive privilege against anyone finding out just how addled he is. Yes, he has exerted executive privilege over the Her tapes, trying to block them from release, because as Her himself surmised, people would think that he's just scrambled. He's just a crazy old man, and so there'd be a big problem. By the way, to the bonus holes, I did get your latest message on Twitter last week. I was not actually trying to throw you under the bus on the quartering stream, and had thought to bring it up, but it was drawn into a larger conversation. Yes, everyone should contact Twitter about the bonus holes being repeatedly banned off the platform, apparently for no real legitimate reason. And I do sympathize with you, and my apologies for not bringing that up. It was an oversight on my part. I meant no offense to you. You've been a good clanker for this whole time, and I enjoy the music and everything else. Science news, genetic analysis of the bird flu virus unveil its evolution and potential. Yes, there was a case the other day that was talked about, actually, a human case of bird flu. And they are trying to get people to panic so they can fuck around with the election. That's the long and short of it. We'll be talking about that. We've just got to make sure to couch our words carefully, because otherwise we can run afoul of some TOS on certain websites. Just in. This morning, Donald Trump sent out a campaign announcement saying he's made his decision for vice president. There's no direct corroboration of this. I checked my inbox and I'm signed up for alerts from Trump and his team. I didn't necessarily get that, but I do believe that this is true. And then the reason why is because they've already agreed to a VP debate. So that's billed for, I think, August. And so Kamala will be debating whoever the running mate is. It's presumptive that they have actually chosen who they want. They may or may not have let that individual know. There is a short list. We'll be discussing that. And then we can lay our bets for the possibilities of who is going to be Trump's vice president, because I can't imagine he's going to be able to lose the election. It'd be hard. I mean, it's his to lose at this point. Judge says Delaware vanity plate rules allow viewpoint discrimination and are unconstitutional. Excellent, by the way. More free speech. Excellent. Less than 1% of U.S. wine companies are black-owned. This company wants to change that. I'll tell you, I don't care what the color of the person is that owns the winery. I only care about the color of the wine, but we'll get into that as well. Sort of a throwaway article, just something fun. Texas Governor Abbott pardons man who killed Black Lives protester. Daniel Perry was jailed for 25 years for shooting dead protester Garrett Foster in Austin in 2020. Yes, but he did so because he was under fear of his life. So I congratulate Abbott for that. And then, of course, the upcoming presidential debates, should they actually happen, we'll be analyzing them as well. So first, to the bonus holes. Anyone know any lawyers willing to discuss working on contingency for a couple different matters? Our singer may not be long for his job with his woke employer. Undeleted our socials, still banned on X, to make it easier to contact. Yes, indeed. If any legal friends are in the audience, you can attempt to contact them. If you DM me again, by the way, to the bonus holes, I'm assuming you made a new account. I'll try, if I get any word from anyone through Twitter DM, if we've got any lawyer friends out there, then I can probably try to coordinate that. And thanks, Dix Lowell. Having one's main following on a free speech platform stripped from them is maddening. I know the feel. I've had bans. I've got banned from Twitch for literally nothing at one point. Had thousands of people following me too for the live streams. They were getting fairly decent traction. They banned me for off-site bad behavior, but then when I appealed it and I queried them on the exact point, it didn't have anything to do with that. It was something else. I can't even remember. I made a video of it at the time. They've apparently gone back on their censorship at this point to try to attract more people to their dying platform, as they are embattled by YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, and many others. Fuck Twitch. I'm not going to bother. By the way, Daily Motion appears to have re-enabled the ability to upload material without having to go through their ad blocker bullshit. So I'm thinking about getting back on Daily Motion since I'm actually one of its largest creators. The Emperor's Champion. Don't worry, Biden. Everyone is going to see how dementia-ridden you are without ever having to hear that interview when the debate comes up. Yes, her interview tapes have been shafted by Biden, exerting executive privilege. It's like, well, I mean, we've already got the summary of that interview. So, I mean, that's already public. What are you trying to hide? Why exert executive privilege over it? What's the point? I wonder what it is the Biden camp doesn't want us to hear. Could it be Joe Biden meandering through the questions and not knowing what the fuck he's doing because he wasn't on amphetamines at the time? Because it took more than 60 minutes? I have a feeling that's probably the reason. Yeah, we've got lots of fun news to cover today. People piling in, thousands and thousands of people coming to hear the daily news. Thinking about actually making more live streams. Maybe make like a late night stream on Saturdays or something. But I kind of enjoy having a day off each week. You know, most people do. They have 2 days off. I get a 7-day work week, mostly, unless I'm in transit. Then I get to sit on the plane and I'm on the internet anyway. When I'm on the plane, it's like I'm a cyborg. I'm undifferentiated from my cyber self. But yeah, we'll get to the her tape first. Joe Biden claims he has executive privilege against anyone finding out just how addled he is. Not exactly the most unbiased headline, but fundamentally true anyway, because there's no other reason that you would hide the her tape. In August 2022, Biden's FBI launched a massive, heavily publicized raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago headquarters to seize classified documents that the former president allegedly illegally possessed. He didn't, but okay. After classified documents were also discovered in several of President Biden's homes and offices, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed special counsel Robert Hur to investigate. He interviewed Biden last October and released a report in January stating that the president had knowingly violated federal law. This is canonical. That's not hyperbole. He knowingly violated the law. But he recommended no prosecution because jurors would see Biden as an elderly man with a poor memory. This is based on his interview of Biden. Put 2 and 2 together. Why wouldn't you want the tape released? It's because it would be damning for Joe Biden. He has to play dumb and pretend that he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. That's not exactly good re-election fodder now, is it? The White House vehemently attacked her for that statement, yet refused to disclose the audio files that could settle the controversy. Again, if Biden is on the up and up, does know what's going on, and he's not feigning, ineptitude during this interview in order to get away with his crime, why wouldn't you release the tape? 3 months ago, the official White House spokesman for oversight and obstruction, Ian Baghdad Bob Sams, boasted that Biden never asserted executive privilege during the Hur investigation because he was transparent and had nothing to hide, except for his mumbling and meandering. Last month, the Justice Department claimed that disclosing these audio tapes would be a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. But Biden was not conscripted into the presidency, and no one forced him to illegally retain classified documents scattered over sites in multiple states, including the Chinese Learning Center, I would note. Congressional Republicans threatened to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt. They're Republicans, who gives a fuck, for refusing to disclose the tapes. The White House on Thursday formally invoked executive privilege to block access. Biden is playing a get out of democracy free card. And Siskel weighed in. Siskel says the GOP had no legitimate need for the audio recordings, as if everyone is obliged to take the White House's word that Biden is the smartest man in Washington. See, here's the problem. Either Biden was pretending and lying in order to get away with it, or he's genuinely brain-addled, or, most likely, a combination of the two, but the tape would be damning because people would have to confront the fact that Joe Biden, at the very least, was generally pretending not to know what the fuck was going on. I have no clue. What year is it? I think Hunter was born in 1932, and Ashley, my cousin, my daughter, she was off doing her thing, and come on, man, Bo died of radium exposure over in Afghanistan. It'll be a word salad that won't make any sense. That's why they don't want to release the tape. We know this. It's quite clear. It's obvious. There's a reason why you wouldn't want to release it. There has to be an actual impetus in order for something to take place. There has to be a reason why they don't want it public. And it ain't because the Republicans are going to chop and screw it Viper style. No, they'll release it in full, I have a feeling. I don't think you'll need jump cuts and edits on a tape like that. Considering that the special counsel appointed by a very sympathetic figure, Merrick Garland, very sympathetic to Joe Biden, came out and publicly stated that the jurors in such a case would find him to be mentally, inept. They would find him to be mentally not all there. And so because they would see him as a crazy, elderly old man, that there didn't need to be any prosecution. I have a feeling we'll get that tape, by the way, when Donald Trump is reelected. Executive authority, my ass. Trump will release it. Oh, it'll be funny. And then all of the Biden voters that still stick with him and probably lose in the election will get to see what a bullet they dodged. Webster's Wares. Good morning, Clankers from Endicott, Washington. Free shipping using code STICKS for 25% off your entire order using code Clanker25 at websterswares.com. We get all sorts of good shit. Let's see. The Emperor, let's see. Oh, I read that one. United for Trump 2024, Georgia. Facebook page, shout out, please. Same name as YouTube name. United for Trump 2024, Georgia, over on Facebook. Although I would say Facebook is the least of the social media platforms at this time. The bonus holes, just DM'd from our singer's new non-banned account. Okay, yeah, I'll try to do my best. Eric Heffelfinger. A VTuber called Kirsch has a video called Bridge Smart Brief. DEI on all the drugs. DEI from the CEO to the janitor. Mark Fregola. If Biden passes away soon, how will things play out? The Democrats will lose because then the person that most Democrats did indeed cast their primary vote for wouldn't be the one running. And Kamala would be waiting in the wings. And she probably does have those ambitions. I don't think that'll go over well with independent voters. Sassmaster531. Think Dems are setting Biden up with debates to fail so they can force him out? That would be real late in the game to force out your candidate. I don't think so. I think they genuinely believe he can hold his own just enough and that it's basically a Hail Mary. They want to reset the campaign because it's lagging. Biden is not doing well. He's behind in virtually every matchup poll, including in the competitive states. It's looking like Minnesota and Virginia and Maine are going to be the hinges upon which the election swings. They don't want that. The fact that the latest Minnesota poll shows Biden ahead by only 2 points is utterly damning. If Trump wins Minnesota, it is over. Fundamentally, completely over. It's within the margin of error, and it could end up being a thing. Andrew Spursons. Screw baby mama or marriage. Karine Jean-Pierre, AOC, Stormy Daniels. Sex with, marriage to, or I don't know, baby mama, get him pregnant or something. I guess if you only have to do it once, you screw Karine Jean-Pierre. So I mean, she's the baby mama, and I guess you screw Stormy Daniels. Take one for the team. I don't know. I'd marry AOC. I guess out of those three, I guess I'd marry Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. At least she can mix a drink. You know, she's got some skills. Karine Jean-Pierre and Stormy Daniels. What are their skills? Nothing. Doc Holliday. Pretty shitty to accuse Melania of cheating because reasons. Oh, come on. Trump and Melania have a business marriage. There is no possibility at her age that she doesn't get wild and horny and she ain't fucking Donald on a reg. Just be reasonable here. Let's be realistic. Theirs is a business marriage. I'm sure there's a genuine attraction there that goes far beyond like the normal dynamic of marriage. I'm sure that they genuinely do like each other in their own way, but it is a business marriage. Absolutely 100%. And Donald Trump fucks around. I'm sure that she's allowed to do the same. And they just don't talk about it. They just do their own thing. Yeah, I guess I'm marrying AOC, you know. I mean, Stormy and Karine Jean-Pierre are a lot older than me, too, I think. So, you know, AOC is at least in the same age range. So that'd be a little bit less creepy. Stormy Daniels is like 50, isn't she? Alan Tenaz. My cousin asked me the other day if he pooped his pants the other day. I said he might have had some hot salsa, so it depends. Haha, hail clankers. Goodness. PRS Crystallized sent €1. No comment. Thank you very much. Yeah, Stormy Daniels' vagina probably looks like Anton's biltong, only wouldn't taste as good. Genetic analyses of the bird flu virus unveil its evolution and potential. The virus leapt from birds to cows once, but is spreading back and forth among birds and mammals. By the way, there are now reports of human infection. This is not a problem, at least at this time. But I cautioned people this morning, and I'm going to reiterate it now. We are still overdue for a major pandemic. The fact that COVID broke out does not fundamentally alter that, because there was gain of function research, and we know that now. It's not even really arguable. That was partially artificial. It was a lab leak. The natural course of events is every 100 years or so, you get a major outbreak of disease. In an age of world travel and with a much higher population each century, it gets more and more likely to spread even further. So you're looking at like maybe Black Death proportions or Spanish flu. We're still overdue for that, unfortunately, because the COVID virus was not entirely from nature. It didn't come from a snake. It didn't come from a marmoset out in the jungle. It came from a lab. Therefore, that doesn't count, unfortunately. We're still overdue for the next one. But the bird flu is a poor candidate generally for that, especially when milk is being suspected as now a vector. You see, most of the milk consumed is pasteurized. The virus is not leaping readily from mammals or birds to humans. Most people don't eat wild crows and pigeons and things like that. Most milk is pasteurized. Most people don't interact with farm animals on a regular basis, and most of them won't be infected anyway. It's a disease of note. It's one that needs to be kept an eye on, but it's probably not going to break through imminently into the human food chain, so to speak. Nonetheless, what they're trying to do is astroturf it as a big problem. And what they're doing is twofold. Number one, they want to interfere in the US election and other elections by fucking around with things yet again. Number two, they want to convince you not to eat meat and not to eat dairy products. That's what they're trying to do. Don't eat eggs because chickens are birds. Don't eat chicken. Don't eat the beef. Don't eat the pork. You can jump to them, lamb and everything. Don't drink the milk because you might get sick. They're trying to make you eat the bug burger because mealy worms can't get bird flu. That's basically the long and short of it. They're fucking around with society yet again, or trying to do so. People must reject this panic mongering. If a disease breaks out and kills a bunch of people, it's regrettable. It's sad. There are countermeasures we can take. But as we've seen with the response to Hong Kong, certain other viruses in recent history, the countermeasures that are employed usually do nothing or very little and are draconian and almost terroristic, number two. Do not count on them to save you. Buff up your immune system, eat healthy, get more exercise, get some sun, and avoid large crowds of people, because why would you want to be in a crowded area? Because people suck anyway. So that's what you should do. Wash your hands, especially after you take a shit. Apparently there are people who don't do that, and I don't understand it. Renee Bastimijan, what do you think of Geert Bosch's prediction of there being mass deaths this summer for something that I can't mention on a YouTube live stream, by the way? My apologies. Claims there will be 30 to 40% death rate. I don't think so. I don't think that that's going to happen. Doug Grizzly, what are your odds on Michigan going for Trump? Do you think he has a better chance than in 2020? If he does win Michigan, does that mean he wins 24? His odds are better than 50-50. He does have a better chance than 2020. It's at least on par with his chances in 2016. And yes, that would secure the election. When we're looking at Minnesota and Virginia being in play, things have tilted way, way off in his direction. The bonus holes. Maybe the real pandemic is the friends we've made along the way. Yeah, I can remember Ebola Chan. That was fun. Mike the Wop. Hope everybody is doing better than me. Clank Fookers. Well, my condolences on you not doing well. As for me, as soon as the stream's over, I'm going back out in the garden to weed. I applied nettle water today. Helps buff up plants' immune systems. Helps them to resist certain pests, as well as powdery mildew if you do a foliar feeding. Oscar Gonzalez, did you hear about the bag of cocaine being found at the U.S. Capitol Police headquarters? Yes, the empty bag that tested positive. Irrelevant, non-story. Somebody lifted it up out of lockup and they snorted the coke. Ta-da! A cop there snorts cocaine sometimes. Not necessarily the biggest news in the world. We'll talk about Trump's VP choice, but first we got to get to our merch partners. We've got pumpkinfirecrafts.us, where you can get keychains, belt chains, bookmarks, amulets, engraved spoons, and much more available now with the Ouroboros logo, Clank, 10.2, all of the other memes that you love, as well as non-Clank merchandise as well that they offer. Apparently, they're working with leather at the moment. We've got BiltongUSA.com. Use code STICKS for free shipping, where you can get delicious biltong. By the way, thank you, Anton. The elk did come. I'll be munching on that before I go out into the garden and possibly on a hike later. And of course, we've also got Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available there as well, both in person at the physical locations in Roanoke, etc., and Denton, I think it was the other one, as well as online. Wicked Needle Embroidery.bigcartel.com, the land of stick, sex, and hammer hats. We've got several varieties and colors available. People demanded them. I put one on, and all of a sudden I got 100 comments saying, where can I get one? Heritage Heirloom Seed Company.com, home of the Seed Survival Bucket and the Stick, Sex, and Hammer Soap Box. Cedar, blueberry, and clove for all of your lathery needs. It'll get you clean, and it smells awful nice. You know, you go out in the garden, you get all sweaty and dirty and stuff. You know, you probably smell like a sewer. Then you wash with that. Now all of a sudden you smell tasty. We've got websterswares.com/sticks-wares. We've got beanies. We've got coats. We've got all sorts of things available. We've got metal spoons as well, so you can save some turtles, all with the Ouroboros logo. Knives and everything else engraved. Really like it. Also, they've got various other paraphernalia available. Trump materials, miscellany, it's all there. Jamandbean.com, JAMN the home of Stick, Sex, and Hammer endorsed coffees and tea blends. The Costa Rica blend, definitely my coffee of choice. Again, I've still got some of it left. I'm going to have to get some more because, you know, I like caffeine. It's strong, but it's also not rock gut coffee. It's not like what you get in you know, you go to buy a car or something like that and they give you free coffee, but it's never really good. They use they use Folgers probably. And finally, MTPU, that's MTPEW.com, where you can get ammunition of various calibers, both newly made and refurbished from range brass. They got 40 Smith & Wesson, 9mm, 223, 5.56, 45s, and more available for you from Bearded Grizzly through MTPU.com. Anyways, Migahuntu, Andy 6 told me not to wash my hands. Objection? It's okay to slit a hot loaf, but then you should wash afterwards. New Jersey and the MJ. Sticks, last night at exactly midnight, I saw a weird shadow move in my room. Thought I was seeing shit, but it reappeared and shot at me. When it reached me, my ears began loudly ringing. Any thoughts? Could have been a waking dream. That is, that you weren't aware that you had become partially somnambulistic. It's happened to me before. It's definitely an interesting occasion. When that happens, try to pull yourself into awareness of the fact you're dreaming, and you can actually like do all sorts of crazy shit in this sort of half dream state. You can spawn things, you can interact with your dream, and it's pretty cool. It's like a video game, only better. Stormblood 20. These streams have gifted me a new addiction, the Ghost Pepper Wagyu. What comes after the election? Riots? Widespread conflict? No matter what happens, there will be protests. Absolutely. It doesn't matter whether Trump wins or loses. There will be protests. Some of them will turn into riots. If Trump wins, you can expect the leftoids to burn Wendy's again, and it'll be considered fiery but mostly peaceful. They'll just, Maxine Waters will say, well, the grievance is justified. The Russians stole the election or something like that. Nobody will be banned for questioning the election results, by the way, should Trump win. Opinionated Junkie. Did you see the MTG and AOC arguments? Funny, lol. Yes, AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene got into it on the congressional floor, and it was cringe. Alan Tenayes. Shout out to the bonus holes. Did you see Benny Johnson's stream where Alex Jones said Darth Vader had his male junk burnt off, so then he had a bonus hole? LMAO. I didn't see that, but it sounds funny as fuck. Let's see. Minna Bukowski on Rumble. They definitely have an arrangement. I believe they both fuck other people. I bet she's into BBC lol. I don't necessarily think that, but I mean, she's getting some. And Trump knows this and doesn't care. 4D kids, tell me to get my homework done, please, Sticks. Get it done. Do the homework. Andrus Burzins, any pointers for growing good carrots and radishes? Radishes are impossible to kill. Just pop them in the soil and they'll do fine. With carrots, just make sure that the soil doesn't have a lot of like rocks and other obstructions, that the roots can get kind of weird. They like a decent amount of phosphate, being a root crop. And J and the MJ, I was not dreaming. I was actually oddly alert. Huh. Well, I don't know then. Had to be something. Yeah, you saw something. Next news story, we've got big news. Donald Trump imminently has chosen a VP, and it will probably be a VP, not just a running mate. Even the legacy media, there's a little bit of a psychological tell when they talk about Trump choosing someone to fill that slot. They always refer to it as vice president, like he's already won, or they know that he's going to win. They don't really refer to it as running mate generally. He's made his decision apparently. Now, I'm interested in seeing what Chad has to say. I think this is the short list, if I had to guess. Here's my short list. Tulsi's on it, Tulsi Gabbard. Vivek Ramaswamy is on it. Tim Scott's definitely on it. We know that. I would say Elise Stefanik and JD Vance and possibly Marco Rubio. I think that basically is the short list. We're not sure, though. Keep in mind, in 2016, Mike Pence was not really talked about until Trump released his short list and said, well, I've winnowed it down to these 4 people. There was Michael Flynn, who I wished he had chosen, and Mike Pence was on it. He was sort of third place in my mind. I can't remember who was the one. There was one person that was worse than Pence, and I said that if he was I can't remember who it was, but I said at the time, if he was chosen, I'd think that Trump had lost his fucking mind. Mike Pence was on the low tier, but it was like kind of acceptable. It wasn't a good decision, and I think Trump has ruminated on that and come to the same conclusion. But in the end, I still supported Trump. I don't care who he chooses. If Trump were to have a whack-ass moment and say, well, Mike Pence is going to be back on board, I would still vote for Donald Trump, just to be clear, because the alternative is so self-evidently worse in every way that I wouldn't even give a fuck at that point. I would simply lament the bad decision-making. I think that my hope is it's Tulsi. My hope is that Tulsi Gabbard is chosen. Kristi Noem is obviously no longer in the running after the dog incident, cutting her book tour short. So it's not going to be her. We know that it's not going to be like a Romney, a Cornyn. The only thing as an aside is that there's always the other category. That is that the people that are most self-evidently being considered here. So Byron Donalds, Tim Scott, Ben Carson, Tulsi Gabbard, Elise Stefanik, DeSantis. It could be somebody who's not really being talked about much at all. That's always a possibility. Lately, Rubio and Vance have been talked up a lot, but I have a feeling that Trump leans against such a thing. Ramaswamy would be more likely. I think that the big 3 that are really, really heavily being considered, if I had to guess, Tim Scott, Tulsi Gabbard, and Vivek Ramaswamy. I think those are the big 3. And there are others that are viable as well. Now, all of these people are qualified for the role because being a VP is largely ceremonial anyway. It's basically, hey, Trump croaked, and so now I'm the president. Until then, you just cast a deciding vote in the Senate that the Republicans are probably going to grab from the Dems anyway. I would say Tulsi is the best choice. And if he chooses her, I will be more enthusiastic even than I am now. And watching her destroy Kamala in the vice presidential debate will be something. And that's the other tell for that Trump has chosen somebody in the general sense. Whether he's let him know or not remains to be seen, but he's probably decided who he wants because they've agreed to a VP debate. There would be no reason to if you didn't know who the VP was going to be. Kamala will get crushed by any of these people, but especially by Gabbard, who already crushed her once before in the Dem primaries. I'm hoping it's her, but my expectation is literally null and void. I have no clue who he's going to choose. There's the short list, and then there's the other category, which is co-equal to that short list. And so we have no clue who's going to be chosen. Panic at the Bistro. Do you believe in poltergeists? I grew up in a house that was afflicted with a dark spirit of some kind. Lots of stories to share. Clank. I think most encounters with poltergeists are natural phenomena or hoaxes. But that being said, I'm of an open mind. I'd like to see one myself. Somebody show me some actual paranormal events, and I'll go in as a skeptic and attempt to debunk them and then see whether I can. And if not, it's like, well, shit, I guess the Bell Witch decided to reside here for the summer. Drennan, any tips on growing stinging nettles from seeds? Put them in a marginal area that's been kind of tilled up in the fall and let them overwinter. I threw my seeds in the compost pile because they need to be cold stratified, so they need to overwinter. If you're in a cold climate, it'll be fine. Oh, they'll sprout up. Make sure to put them in the margins on the edge of like where field meets forest or something like that, or whenever there's like disturbed soil. They love it. They can't get enough of it, and they'll grow huge. I've got so many stinging nettles out back. I ate them a few days ago. I sauteed them off with some butter and some garlic. It's delicious. I have to do that again. Maybe I'll do that today, actually. So yeah, Trump has probably chosen his VP/running mate. We're not sure who it is. There will be plenty of people who say, well, I'm certain that it's Tim Scott, and here's the reasons why. But then another person will say that they're sure it's Rubio. Another person will say they're sure that it's Elise Stefanik. And so in the end, it's not a thing. My hope is Tulsi Gabbard, VP, Michael Flynn as Secretary of State, Ben Carson, the head of the medical branch, of course, health. And for White House Press Secretary, Carrie Lake, I would say that's a very, very solid choice. And watching that, it would be a lot more interesting than watching Karine Jean-Pierre not know what she's talking about. And so that would be, I think, the God mode lineup. That would be the A team if he can assemble one. We'll see. He has had problems, admittedly, before with his hiring practices. Big Mike, Friday Clank, have a good weekend, everyone, and to you as well. Crossover Maniac, I thought you believed in demons. Did you change your mind about atheism? No, I believe in daimonic forces. Now, that is otherworldly forces that are not necessarily twain with physical reality in the entire sense. I am an apatheist. I do not care whether there's a God or not, because that question cannot be answered. Webster's Wares, please be Tulsi. Tulsi ending Kamala for a second time would be magical. Agreed, it'd be hilarious. Andrew Spursons, Larry Elder should be the VP. He has great insurance and might even be able to deliver Cali for Trump. No, Trump does not need to do the DEI hiring practice for his vice president. What he needs is Tulsi Gabbard. He needs a firebrand. It has to be a charismatic female or a non-charismatic male. That's what he's choosing from. That's just how Trump is. Go with the charismatic female. Go with the charismatic person who can crush Kamala Harris. Show her, again, the people who are voting for Biden are voting for Kamala, fundamentally. They've been reminded of this time and time again. Make Kamala look completely inept and out of touch. That's all you have to do. People go into the voting booth and say, well, I don't really have a problem with Biden. You know, I'm ignoring the inflation, the migrant crisis, but he's 83 years old. I don't really like Kamala. It could be a little bit of a problem. That's what he needs. And follow up, the Dems would impeach Trump to get Tulsi as president. She ran as a Dem 4 years ago. She abandoned them after they abandoned her. I think that her conversion is genuine. And they can't remove him from office through simple impeachment anyway, so they're not going to have the control of the Senate. I have a feeling that the Republicans are going to have 52 seats in the Senate. They may very well lose the House because it's basically a 50-50, but Senate, the Dems are having to defend a lot more seats than the GOP is. Plastics are retarded. I love to clank. Clank. Tune in, drop out. All three are good. Tulsi is my choice as well. Her military experience alone gives her credibility when speaking to matters of global conflicts. Exactly. Military experience, relatively young, very well spoken, can run rings around Kamala Harris and already has done so several times. What more the hell do you possibly want in a running mate? It would be very, very good if she's chosen. I hope that she is. Larry Elder's on the list. I would say a little bit outside of the short list. I think Tim Scott's probably number one on the list. It's okay. It's acceptable. Better than Pence. I'd put him on the B team, but I'd say the A team is Tulsi Gabbard. Again, if he chooses Tulsi, I'll just declare the election same day and say, well, he's pretty much won this one. Judge says Delaware vanity plate rules allow viewpoint discrimination. Tuesday's ruling came in a lawsuit filed by Carrie Lynn Overington, 43, of Milton, a breast cancer survivor whose F-cancer license plate was recalled in 2021 because it contained a perceived profanity. Overington filed a lawsuit that year challenging the decision, and the ACLU later took up her case. Wow, they're actually fighting for free speech and expression. I'm very grateful that I was able to have my voice heard. What they're doing was wrong, Overington told the AP on Wednesday. In a deposition last year, Overington testified that when she applied for the vanity plate, she explained that it meant fight cancer. DMV officials asked her about Facebook posts showing her wearing a t-shirt reading F cancer and celebrating her F cancer anniversaries using an expletive and not the word fight. Again, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's a perceived expletive, but it doesn't matter. There's no actual expletive or objectionable material there at all. Now, is there? A spokesman for the Delaware Department of Transportation said the agency will review the decision before commenting on the future of the vanity plate program. A Dodd attorney said at March court hearings that the Transportation Secretary, Nicole Majeski, had talked about getting rid of all vanity plates. Well, that's one way to solve the problem, but what's the purpose? Somebody wants to pay your state a little extra money to have a vanity plate. Who cares? Maybe I'll get one. It'll be Sticks 666 or something like that. Say, oh, it's my username online. Well, they'll probably object to that as well. I'm well known enough in the state of Vermont that if I go through any bureaucratic hoops, there'll be extra hoops for me potentially because it's 80% Democrats here. Mr. Buster Pants, Tulsi surfs. She aloha. Yes, the thing is, she has the look. I hate to tell you this. It shouldn't be a thing, but in politics, the way you look does matter. That's why, especially among male candidates, the taller candidates have an advantage. The more built, thin candidate, like Chris Christie, he's got bad physiognomy. He was always at a disadvantage. It doesn't matter what he says. The way in which you speak, how capable you are at getting your point across, to make it simplistic enough for the average person to understand, but erudite enough to make you sound smart. That matters. It shouldn't. It has nothing to do with the ideology you're pushing. Hell, Stalin was a good public speaker. Hitler was a good public speaker. George W., in some of his more coherent moments, was a decent public speaker too. Look at Joe Biden as a senator. Very good public speaker till he got dementia. Doesn't mean that what you're fighting for is right, but it matters. To have a 40-something female as VP, as a counterbalance to, admittedly, an elderly white male, is good optics. This is why Kamala is the current VP. It's not because she's qualified. It's because she's younger and she's black and she's female. As a counterfoil to the old white neoliberal senile dude. That's the point. That's why she was chosen instead of somebody who was actually capable of communicating with the public. In her case, it was pure DEI hiring. It was IDPOL, as opposed to having someone qualified. Tulsi would also, though, be qualified. She is a very good public speaker and an even better debater. She'd rip Kamala Harris to shreds. There'd be no chance of her recovering from it. She's already done it. She's proven she can go up against Kamala and totally lay waste to her. Now, Kamala was already on her way out as a candidate by the time Tulsi really grilled her. But it definitely added insult to injury, and that's exactly the kind of blood sport that people want. It would be a spectacle. Get the attention. Choose Tulsi Gabbard. If he does, I will be very, very happy and impressed with his hiring decision. There are other qualified individuals. I have no problem with J.D. Vance or Tim Scott or some of these people. I'm just saying there's one chance to really knock it out of the park. That's all I'm saying. John Mark, Candace Owens. Yeah, she's not in the running. Mikuhuntu, please God, not bland. DEI tryhard Tim Scott. You could do worse, but again, you can do better. Super Mario, I like Tulsi a lot, but I'm slightly more inclined towards Vivek because of his youth. We need younger people, not old boomers running things anymore. Tulsi's in her 40s. She's not a boomer. She's Gen X. She's younger than Obama. M2 Parsons. Hey, Sticks, can I get a shout out for Casey Turton and her book, The Two-Sentence Story Collection, available on Amazon? Yes, you can. You just go on. Sal the Hamster. Sticks, the mute list in the moderation section of your profile. You should be able to unmute Sith there. I will attempt to do that after the live stream. My apologies. Doc Holliday, you can no longer question the results of 2020 or claim Dem shenanigans on YouTube. Yeah, you can. They reversed that policy some time ago. Apache, saw a ghost when DDing my friends. We all saw the same thing at different levels of sobriety. It was a woman in a wedding dress. Didn't know it at the time, but she was walking towards a graveyard. It was 2 a.m. Could have been a tweaker, in all honesty. That does happen. Mr. Busterpants, true Sticks. Even when she's mad, she looks great. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard is a very good debater. She would rip Kamala Harris apart. That's the only goal of the VP in the running anyway. Destroy the other person's running mate. That's the only goal. Otherwise, it's basically, sit there for the cameras, occasionally give an interview and do some diplomacy. That's the VP's job. Once in a while, you get called on to break a Senate tie. Less than 1% of U.S. wine companies are black-owned. This company wants to change that. So, in other words, instead of doing the malt liquor 40 stereotype shuffle, you want to get into giving people other forms of alcohol that are more socially acceptable. I don't care about this. Some people are saying, well, this is wokeness. Who cares who owns the winery, what color skin they have? It only matters the color of the wine. What are you having for dinner? Beef or fish? Are you making poultry or lamb or, something like that? I mean, with a vegetarian dish, by the way, what would the wine pairing be? Probably white wine, right? If you're like a vegetarian, so there's no meat in it. Typically, red meats are associated with red wine, and then chicken and fish are associated with white wine. Myself, in my wine imbibing, I would never touch red wine because most of it gives you a hangover. White wine, no problem. Try to control myself, of course. I've noted that I've suffered with alcoholism in the past, so you got to take it easy. But yeah, having a glass with dinner is fine. And if it came from a black-owned winery, who cares? I think it's a good thing. Some upward mobility for people who happen to be black. I don't celebrate it as some great breakthrough in the racial struggle or something like that, because it's like, okay, you own a business. Plenty of black people do. At least if a black person buys a winery, they don't have to worry about BLM showing up and burning it to the ground during one of their protests, like a ma and pa shop in the black neighborhood. So there's that advantage too. And by the way, the picture of this dude on this article, link in the description, archived, of course. By the way, my books blog pinned at the top on YouTube if you want to peruse those. Just just pointing that out. I got plenty of books available, more coming down the pipeline. Got to edit actually later after garden work. If you look at the picture of him, he looks like the sort of dude who would own a winery now, doesn't he? He looks exactly like the sort of person who would be pouring the glass of Chardonnay. Elizabeth Warren's going to show up and say, "Oh, my little black person, how wonderful you've done. Hey, quick, get me loaded." Plastics are retarded. Imagine the smell of Kamala. Sniff, sniff, sniff. I'd rather not. Big Mike, is Tulsi in the WEF? I've heard this multiple times. No. She went to a WEF youth conference once years ago. She's not a member of the actual globalist order. She seems to have rejected that pretty soundly. Mikuhuntu, talk to Robert Barnes. Scott comes from Deep State. Yeah, again, there are definitely people more qualified. I want Tulsi Gabbard as the VP. I'll vote for Trump anyway, but the level of enthusiasm for voting for that ticket will fluctuate some based on who the running mate is. I'm gung-ho for Trump, but I'm not gung-ho for everyone that he's considering as a VP. Some of them are better and more qualified than others. Watching Kamala Harris get taken down a peg by Tulsi Gabbard would be amusing. Oh, I definitely have to live stream that goddamn debate. Holy shit, I'll set up an hour beforehand just to make absolutely goddamn sure that I've got the right stream and everything set up. Because it'll be better than the presidential debates. Doc Holliday, no sticks. They automatically delete comments about it now as of this morning. Yes, but you can talk about it on video without getting banned. Bealist history. I am autistic. I am mentally challenged. I have a chromosomal disorder. Come to my channel for book reviews. New video reviewing Sticks gun rights book is up. Interesting. B-list history. Salty Ironworker. If you could interview Trump, I'm curious what 3 main questions you would ask him. Also, you see that bull crap in Chicago making anyone protesting DNC has to do it 3 miles away? Ridiculous. Keep up the good work, kiddo. What would I ask Donald Trump in an interview? First, how has the fallout from your presidency, like with the legacy media and the propaganda and stuff, how has it affected your family life? Like not just you, but the dynamic between you and your wife, your kids, etc. How has it fundamentally changed or not changed that particular dynamic? Secondly, you started no new wars as president of the United States. Are you, we know that he's non-interventionist. Is that out of mainly principle, or is it out of circumstance mainly because you were able to diplomatically navigate around these nations during your tenure in your first term as president? So is it serendipity mostly, or was it out of a genuine sort of personally held belief, hey, this is a bad idea? I think we know the answer, but it would be good for someone to actually ask him something meaningful. Normally they don't. And then third, what's your biggest regret during your presidency? What do you feel, out of all the things that you did or tried to do, what do you feel in your own personal circumstance was the most negative thing? And not about like, the legacy media propaganda, as far as policies you pushed successfully or unsuccessfully, anything economic, anything foreign policy, what's your biggest regret from that first term? I'd like to hear that as well. The Siren. This is Funeral Wave, music for riding through the apocalypse. New 432 hertz music video written while riding through airstrikes in Ukraine, rescuing my wife. YouTube, The Siren Chariot. Yeah, I saw some of your music actually when you super chatted a couple weeks ago. I thought it was really great. So definitely here, I'll pin this up here. Make sure to look up The Siren. Look up Chariot. I'll have to take a listen to it later. Good fucking shit. Also great music videos. I really love those are totally off the chain. See, there is actually good modern music. It's just you're not going to hear it on the top 40. Generalissimo Liberty. What are your thoughts on Steve Bannon and the War Room? I don't really watch it much, but I have no problem with Bannon. Sometimes his takes are better than others. So I feel that way about literally everyone, including myself. BW, Cohen was exposed lying again yesterday. Even Anderson Cooper said that the jury will look at him like he's making stuff up. What do you think this means? Jury is too biased? I think the case will fall apart. I think Trump will be found not guilty. And the liberals, by the way, will have a huge fucking meltdown over that. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's. Free shipping for your Biltong with code STICKS on BiltongUSA.com and AntonsUSA.com. Hope to start building our flagship store in 2024. 3444 Highway 287, Sunset, Texas. Buy more Biltong. Yeah, you're branching out all over the place. You're going to end up with a regional chain pretty soon. More power to you. Yeah. With your branding strategy, I think, is wise. By getting content creators hooked on Biltong, you're getting all sorts of free publicity that you wouldn't otherwise get. If only mainline businesses would do that, they would improve too. But, you know, they have to be more cautious about who they fund. We might say something naughty. We might make a poo-poo pee-pee joke. Generalissimo Liberty, thank you. You're welcome. So yeah, look at that picture of the winery dude there and ask yourself, could there be a more stereotypical look for somebody who owns a winery? More power to them, though. You know, if you're black, you make a winery and you make good wine, yeah, make that money. Texas Governor Abbott pardons man who killed Black Lives Matter protester. Yes, indeed. Of course, the headlines on this leave out the whole part about him being attacked in his vehicle and surrounded and being in fear of his life. The announcement came shortly after the Texas Board of Pardons and Parole unanimously recommended a pardon for Daniel Perry and restoration of his firearm rights, yeah, baby, following an investigation that the board conducted at the governor's request. Perry, 37, was found guilty in April 2023 of murder in the death of 28-year-old Garrett Foster, a U.S. Air Force veteran who was shot at a Black Lives Matter rally in Austin in the state capitol in July 2020. The demonstration came amid a storm of protests across the country. This is the summer of love riots, mostly peaceful, against racial injustice and police brutality in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd by Minneapolis police officers in May of that year. Perry insisted he was acting in self-defense when he shot Foster, claiming he had no choice but to open fire with his handgun. When Foster pointed the AK-47 he was legally carrying at Perry, you can legally carry an AK-47. That's perfectly fine, including in a protest. You might get arrested for it anyway, and there's problems, with that. You can do that. You're not supposed to point it at somebody, though. Perry is white, as was Foster, so obviously he's racist against his fellow white people. Perry was driving in Austin that night and had turned his Uber car onto the street where the demonstrators were marching, leading members of the crowd to believe they were in danger of being assaulted by his vehicle, according to media accounts of the incident. Oh my God, a car is on the road, which we are currently occupying. They're clearly going to run us down. Quick point a gun at him. During the trial, the two sides presented conflicting accounts of whether Foster leveled his gun at Perry. Inconsequential. If my vehicle is surrounded and there's a person with an AK-47 and I think that they're pointing it at me, I'm going to open fire on them because I might not have more than a couple of seconds to react and drop them before I get shot, especially if there's somebody that I care about in the car. If it's just me, maybe a little bit more hesitance because I'm like, joke's on you. I don't care whether I live or die. In his pardon proclamation, Abbott said the jury's verdict in effect nullified the state's stand your ground self-defense law. True. The statute removes a person's duty to retreat from unprovoked threat of violence before using deadly force if that person has a right to be there. Clearly, if you're in your car on a street, you have the right to be there, of course. That's sort of what the fucking road is for. Perry's lawyer, Doug O'Connell, said the pardon corrects the courtroom travesty of his client's conviction, agreed, adding that Perry was thrilled and elated to be free. Daniel Perry was imprisoned for 372 days and lost the military career he loved, O'Connell said in his statement, quoted by Austin television station KXAN. We intend to fight to get Daniel's military service characterization upgraded to an honorable discharge. Good. He deserves it. Somebody points a fucking gun at you. You're in your car, minding your own business. Nobody has any legitimate right at that point to be alarmed by your presence because you're in the road. You don't get to mob their car and start pounding on the windows and point guns at them. So that's proper. Very good. The Siren. Thank you, sir. More to come. Appreciate your daily info. Me and my live bandmates all listen daily. Much more to come. Yeah, I'll be listening to that later. In fact, let me cue it up right now so I can't forget. The Siren Chariot. Okay, I've got it queued up. I can't wait to listen to it. Thank you very much for the good music, by the way. King of Biltong. We like when you make poo-poo pee-pee jokes. It sells more biltong. Yeah, I mean, where it all goes to the same place in the end. It's just tastier on the front end, you know? Yeah, he sent me a couple more bags of that out. Guess what I'm cracking open before going to the garden? I stuff it down my fucking gullet. Sue Blue to you. Keep doing what you do. I really enjoy your broadcast. I figured it was only right to send you some support. Well, I thank you very much. I always like money. It helps the garden to grow. And sometimes you need to get a new microphone because you're transiting transatlantically and they fold, spindle, and mutilate it, unfortunately. Real bad time. This is the new one. The other one's over there. It's all bent out of shape and fucked. Webster's Wares. We fund sticks strictly for the pee-pee poo-poo jokes. Good on you. A tax collector. Sticks, do you think the Republicans are going to turn on Israel to gain support from Palestine supporters, or should they court Israel supporters? They should court America first and not worry about it too much. That seems to be the general consensus. But no, trying to court the Gaza protesters would be a terrible idea for the GOP. And then finally, President Biden's debate gambit. Big risk, big reward. This is an opinion piece over on Newsweek. There's something telling, though. I do agree in basic gist and principle. I agree with the basic summation. Joe Biden has to restart his campaign. It's kind of late in the game to do that, by the way. He does not have a choice but to debate Donald Trump. You know that he doesn't want to. Pelosi the other day said it was a bad idea. They're not counting on him to do particularly well. But they need to get him out there because right now, Donald Trump is running roughshod over Joe Biden literally everywhere. They don't have a choice. It's a Hail Mary. They're not necessarily confident in it. There's the risk. The risk is that Joe Biden meanders up on stage, is pressed about the economy, the migrant crisis, etc., and fails, which will sink any possible ambitions that he has of being reelected. That's why they're doing it on CNN and ABC with sympathetic moderators, with TDS, with a dump button and everything else, so they can try to control Trump and make him debate less aptly. That's what they're hoping for. Again, you'll have a VP debate too in the middle in August, so that could be a big one. I'm looking forward to that more than the presidential debates, even though it has similar guidelines. If you get Tulsi on there with Kamala Harris, it's basically over for Kamala. They're trying to do that. Atlanta, where was it? There was one part in the article that I wanted to talk about here. Oh, yeah, there's also the TDS. While Trump lying with every other word he speaks will be treated as the norm by the media and yawned at, a small Biden misstep will be treated as a massive news and live on throughout the remainder of the campaign. Sort of the reverse of actual reality. If Donald Trump says something that's accurate, he's still fact-checked by Snopes, etc. And if Biden says something stupid, he gets excuses made for him. Can't remember exactly where the part was. There was something in here that I wanted to drive a point home, but where the fuck was it in the article? It's overly long. Keep it more terse. People don't have time to read 20 paragraphs. I mean, unless they do what I do for a living, they don't. Let's see. Oh, I can't find it now. Maybe they edited it. Well, no, this is the archive. They couldn't have edited it. Clearly, after a series of bad polls and the inability to keep the momentum the president gained coming out of his State of the Union address going, there was no momentum. Biden and his team decided they needed to shake up the race. And now, before the conventions, before Trump names a vice presidential nominee, and before even most voters are turned into the race. In poker terms, they're going all in. Just the first few deals of the game, and they'll either be sitting with all the chips or none. The Biden campaign theory, this is what I wanted to, this is the part. Theory of the case is that the more voters see of Trump, the less they will like him. They want Trump in everyone's living room on a daily basis. They believe the more voters see of Trump, the more it will remind him of why they chose to evict him from the White House 4 years ago. Stop that thought. This is exactly the reason why Biden is losing. They are doing that. They constantly have their media lackeys talking about Donald Trump. What is the optics of this? The optics of it is it makes it look like Trump is the president of the United States and Biden don't exist at all. Trump's in the living room and in the bedroom every single day. Where's Biden? He's sleeping. He's eating his prune muffin. He's taking his prune smoothie so he can have his daily bowel movement. He's an absentee. Him and Kamala, by the way. They keep her in the closet as a bad joke most of the time. Biden has to do this, but he doesn't really want to. He's an absentee president, but the problem is that Donald Trump is talked about 10 times more than the sitting president of the United States. I take up exactly the opposite position of this article, which is TDS suffering. Trump being in everyone's living room every night is great for him. People obviously aren't tired of Donald Trump because he appears to be leading in 90% of all of the modern polling that we have available. He's at 50-50 now in Virginia, Minnesota, and Maine, arguably. And by the way, the Minnesota poll, that's actually one of the aggregated polls. It's a scientific poll. That ain't a one-off. That's part of the fucking aggregate. Biden 2 points ahead, well within the margin of error, 3.5. Biden does need to shake things up, but he's being forced to do this. He didn't want to debate Trump. That's why a couple of months ago he said, well, I'd be willing to debate Trump depending on how he acts. That's basically saying, I don't want to debate Trump. I'm going to find something to gripe about as an excuse of why I don't have to get on stage with him. That was exactly what was happening. And at the time, it seemed workable. but it no longer seems workable to the Biden administration. They are being forced to debate Donald Trump under the most positive of circumstances with a sympathetic moderation on a mainline network that will fact check Trump live for the non-studio audience. There's not going to be a studio audience. Jake Tapper will be there to do his TDS thing. They're going to hardball Trump, softball Biden, and in the end, they'll conduct a poll of CNN viewers and declare that Biden was the victor. That's what's going to happen at the debate. But even then, they're not assured that Joe Biden manages to hold his own. Generalissimo Liberty. If I were moving to New Hampshire, what is a good city to live in? Keene is nice. Keene is a good place. I wouldn't move to Manchester, though. Keene is good. Claremont, that region. Something actually closer to Vermont is more of like the small town America feel. You get down towards Manchester, it's more like city. It's more like Connecticut or Massachusetts. If you go to the Seacoast region, it's nice, but it's expensive. A lot of tourism. And if you get really up far in the state, there's nothing there. It's the White Mountains, and nobody lives there. Mina Bukowski. Anyone who is not actively putting America first should not be serving in American politics. Agreed. So yeah, we got through the news. I think that I'll go offline now. I thank you to the 4,000 people who tuned in live. I'd stay a little bit longer, but the garden is calling me, and the biltong as well. I need some of that. I've got some sour cream and onion dip to pair with it too. Eat it with the sour cream onion chips to make it like a little biltong sandwich. It's actually delicious. Just fucking trust me. Try it sometime. Go to Anton's USA and get some of his elk. Apparently that he's managing to keep in stock, although we're going to do the best to exhaust your supply, Anton. The venison, meanwhile, I think is still on hold, but the elk is the best. Of all of the meats that he has, the elk and then the bison and carbonaci, those are really the ones that do it for me. I love the Wagyu. It's nice and fatty and delicious, but really the elk, for some reason, just does it for me. I like the more out there meats myself. So yeah, I'll see you all on Monday. Oh, Andrew Spursons, I hope you all have a great day. Guaranteed, and I hope you do too. Generalissimo Liberty, thank you. Thank you as well for your contribution. So yeah, I'll be back on Monday. I don't stream on weekends. I've got a lot of garden work to do, nettle water, adding some more azomite to a few of the crops. And yeah, garden weaseling it. I got to get out the weeds from the potato bed, actually. That's probably today's task. That's about all.